Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Quick English Practice, the podcast that helps you learn English naturally through real conversations. Today, we want to talk about something very common among English learners. It is the fear of speaking and making mistakes. Emma, I think this is something that almost every learner feels, right?
Yes, Jack, you are completely right. Many people feel nervous when they speak a new language. They worry that someone will laugh at them or not understand them. It is a very human feeling.
Exactly. And that is what I want to talk about today. My cousin came from Brazil last year. He was so excited to be here. But after a few weeks, he started to feel very nervous every time he had to speak English.
Oh, poor guy. What happened to him?
Well, he told me that every time he tried to say something in English, he felt like people were watching him and judging him. One day, he said something wrong at the store. The cashier smiled, not in a bad way, but he thought she was laughing at his mistake. After that, he almost stopped speaking English outside.
Oh, I understand that feeling very well. When I was learning Spanish, I felt exactly the same. There was one time I wanted to order food in a small restaurant in Madrid. I said something very wrong, and everyone started to laugh a little. They were not mean, but I felt so embarrassed that I wanted to disappear.
Yes, that is it. My cousin said the same thing. He felt embarrassed even when people were kind. It's like the brain keeps saying, "Do not speak, you will make a mistake."
Yes, that voice is very strong. But the truth is, everyone makes mistakes. Even native speakers make mistakes when they speak. And the only way to get better is to speak more, not less.
That is so true, Emma. But it is not easy to convince someone who already feels anxious. When I told him, "Just speak, do not worry," he said, "Jack, you do not understand how hard it is."
Yes, I can imagine. When someone feels that kind of fear, simple advice does not help much. You have to help him change the way he sees mistakes.
How can he do that?
Well, one thing that really helped me was to remind myself that mistakes mean progress. Every time I made a mistake, I wrote it down. Then I told myself, now I know something new. It was like collecting small victories.
That is a nice idea. So instead of feeling bad, you felt that you learned something.
Exactly. And another thing that helped me was to find kind people to practice with. When I found a language partner who was patient, I stopped feeling afraid. Maybe your cousin can join a small group of learners or find a speaking buddy who also feels nervous. When two people have the same fear, they help each other.
That makes sense. I think part of his problem is that he only tries to speak with native speakers who talk very fast. He said he cannot keep up, and that makes him feel worse.
Yes, that is very common. He can start with slower conversations, maybe with people who are learning too. Also, he can listen to English podcasts for beginners, like this one, and try to repeat some sentences aloud. That way, he will get used to speaking without pressure.
I like that idea. And maybe he can record himself too. Sometimes when I record my voice, I notice that my pronunciation is not as bad as I think.
Yes, that is a great idea. Listening to your own voice helps you build confidence. And when you see your improvement after a few weeks, you feel proud instead of scared.
You know, Emma, I think a lot of people believe that they have to speak perfectly, but perfection does not exist, right?
Exactly. Perfection is not the goal. Communication is the goal. If people understand what you mean, then you are already speaking English.
Yes, that is what I told my cousin. I said, you can already communicate. You just need to relax. But I also understand him. When I learned French, I was afraid too. My teacher once told me, Jack, you are not a robot. You are a learner. Mistakes are proof that you are trying.
That is a beautiful quote, Jack. Mistakes are proof that you are trying. I love that.
Thank you. Maybe that can help my cousin too. He really wants to improve. He listens to English music, watches movies, and studies every day. But when he has to speak, his mind goes blank.
That happens to many people. Sometimes it is not a problem with English. It is a problem with confidence. He should practice speaking alone first. Maybe he can talk to himself in front of a mirror. For example, he can describe what he did today or what he plans to do tomorrow. That way, when he talks to real people, he already feels prepared.
That is great advice. I will tell him. Emma, I'm curious. When you were learning Spanish, how did you move from fear to confidence?
Good question. For me, it was little by little. First, I accepted that I was going to make mistakes every single day. Then I decided not to care too much about what people thought. And finally, I started to laugh at my own mistakes. When I said something funny or wrong, I just laughed with others. That made everything lighter.
Yes, humor helps a lot. If you can laugh at yourself, you take away the power of fear.
Exactly. Fear grows in silence. When you speak, when you laugh, fear becomes smaller.
Wow, that is so true. I think my cousin needs to hear this episode. Emma, if you had to give him 3 tips to stop feeling nervous, what would they be?
Let me think. First, I would tell him, mistakes are your friends. They help you learn. Second, find safe people to practice with. People who are patient and kind. And third, celebrate small wins. Every sentence he says in English is a victory.
Beautiful. I love those 3 tips. You know, sometimes we forget how brave learners are. Speaking in another language takes courage.
Yes, it really does. Every learner who tries to speak, even with fear, is already doing something amazing. Your cousin should be proud of himself.
I will tell him that. I think this conversation will help him and many listeners too.
I hope so. Learning a language is not only about grammar and vocabulary, it is also about emotions, confidence, and self-acceptance.
That is a wonderful message to end with. So, to everyone listening, remember, do not be afraid of mistakes. They are part of your journey to fluency. Keep speaking, keep smiling, and keep learning.
Yes, and remember, you are not alone. Every learner feels nervous sometimes, but every time you speak, you win a small battle against fear.
Thank you, Emma. That was a really deep and encouraging talk.